Hello and welcome to Highpoint Music's Tone Zone. In this episode of the Tone Zone, we're going to go through and do a shootout between the Boss OD1X, the Boss OD3 and the Boss SD1W. You can find all of the individual reviews for these overdrives on our YouTube channel and our blog. So if you want a bit more detail about any of them, check them out there or leave a comment on this video and we can answer some questions and chat about what might be best for you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to run through the overdrives in their different EQ ranges and gain ranges, doing a low gain, high gain and lead sound, and I'll step you through each of the models and show you the differences. First of all, we've got the SD1 and its low gain sound. The tone control set reasonably bright. And across to the OD3. You can hear that change in the mid-range straight away. Definitely more of a scoop sound on the OD3. I'll flatten the EQ out on the OD1. And back to So you definitely notice that mid-jump straight away. So the SD1 just has that little more. You can accent that mid-hump with some volume. OD1X does have a bit more buzz to it. You can get it reasonably similar to the SD1W, but it's definitely not scooped as much as the OD3 sound is just naturally. Accent some of that mid-scoop by changing the EQ on the OD1. Maybe too much bass there. So the OD1X has got a little bit of a more aggressive sound than the OD3. And definitely not as much mid-range boost as the SD1W. So we'll go for a bit more of a high gain sound with the SD1. Push that up to about 4 o'clock. Tone control is just set to be bright sounding. A lot more gain with the OD3, and you still notice the difference in mid-range response. A little bit more treble kind of sound as well. But that could just be the change in mid-range accenting that sound. So across to the OD1. Push that gain up. And accent that treble response like that. So the OD1X definitely has more gain. So the OD1X definitely has more gain. And with that flatter frequency response in its EQ, probably a more versatile set of tones. And that mid-boost is very obvious with the SD1W now. Of course, we can do that mid-scoop sound via OD1X. Really oppose the SD1. And we can dial that a little bit of a mid-bump by taking the bass and treble out. So you can really hear the difference between the three pedals in those examples. The OD1X definitely has a little bit more of a grittier sound in the low gain range than what the OD3 or the SD1 has. But when you get into the higher gain range, it really has a lot more clipping going on and probably makes it the most versatile pedal out of the three when you learn how to dial in those EQ changes. The mid hump in the SD1W is very obvious, and the flatter response of the OD3 is also really noticeable in that scenario when you're able to jump back and forth between each of the pedals. So a nice range of tones there. At the moment, my preference is probably still going to be the OD1X, but I'll show you some lead sounds and we can try those as well. So across to the OD3. And then across to the OD1. You really notice the mid scoop with the tone stack in the OD3 compared to that brighter response of the OD1. And then across to the SD1, where that mid boost is still again quite noticeable. We'll push that gain control up. Nice and smooth movement on the SD1. Almost giving the illusion that it's a little bit less gainy than the OD3. We'll dial the gain up on the OD1X. Not too dissimilar in sound, but there is definitely a difference. That treble response, that's actually wrong. So from the OD1X to the OD3, that mid scoop really accents the top frequencies to my ears. And the mid boost and the SD1 kind of hides that treble and bass sound that you can kind of push with the OD1X. So a little bit of a mid scoop, a little bit of a mid boost. There's a big change in tonal range. And of course, if you want to do some stacking, the OD3 probably makes the biggest difference into the OD1X. So you can really hear a change between each of those pedals. Although they all kind of started with the same design, the original OD1, there are some definite changes in the EQ response that you can use to your advantage. The OD1X has got a great EQ range, although it doesn't have as much of a mid boost as the SD1W. So if you're into that mid push to overdrive your amplifiers, that's probably still going to be your choice. If you want something that's the most versatile, has the biggest amount of gain range and EQ response for different amps or changing between different guitars, then the OD1X is a great choice. Being able to do the mid scoop with the bass and treble controls or more of a flatter response is really, really nice. The OD3 has more of a mid scoop than either of the pedals, but it also kind of sits nicely in between the gain of the two others. To pick a favorite, I'm going to say it's the OD1X. It's nice and quiet, it's got a huge range of gain, and I think you could really use it in the most amount of musical styles. The OD3 is probably the next most versatile, and the SD1W is probably the least versatile in tonal ranges, but a mid-boost pedal is a really popular option for most guitarists in most genres of music, so it's not necessarily out of the running. So if you'd like to pick up either one of these, you can follow the links below. Don't forget to leave a comment or a question on our social media if you've got anything you'd like to talk about. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us which ones you think sounded best. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are and how you're using maybe one of these pedals or a pedal like one of these to get your sounds. Don't forget to check out the blog where I'll have a little bit more info on the differences between them and what you can do. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.